So, before I begin, I should just give a huge shout out to Plunder True Crime for making this audio available on her Patreon. So, if you want copies of this audio, you can hop across to her Patreon and purchase them. It's not cheap, but bearing in mind there's a lot of work involved in getting FOIA requests. So I certainly wasn't going to begrudge giving Paula a bit of money as opposed to putting the time in to get the requests myself. I think Paula has invested a heck of a lot of money in this case to bring all this information to us, so I figure it's the least I can do to give her a bit of support. So in this video, there is also the original phone call that we listened to quite some time back. That was recently re-released amongst all the stuff from the State's office. And I was going to go through that at some point in time, and then we had all these other calls drop. So I decided that it would be a good idea to actually start from the beginning. So start with that May 13th phone call and go through that one again and then continue going on. So all up, there's actually 14 new phone calls to look at. My intention in this video is to look at the videos or the audio from May, which is essentially 3 separate phone calls. Could make for a very long video. I may end up stopping after the first 2 phone calls, depending on how long this video goes, in which case I will then add the final May audio onto the next video that I do. Now, I noticed before I started working on this video that Paula has actually dropped the entire audio of all these phone calls on her channel. And I'm guessing that it is all the uninterrupted versions. So while I have it ready to go, I'm originally going to just upload it for members, just so that we can send a bit of traffic Paula's way. After all, she's the one who put in the time and put in the money to get these FOIA requests. I'm sure it's cost her a heck of a lot more for these than what it's cost me. So I don't want to rush to actually release the full uninterrupted audio just yet. I think it's only fair to give it a few days. So on that note, first of all, I have a rather amusing little nugget for you, and then we'll launch into these phone calls between Stearns and his parents.
Hello, you have a call at no expense to you
Hello?
from
Stephan Stearns.
an inmate at
Osceola County Corrections Department.
to accept this call. This call was refused by the called party. Goodbye. Hello, you have a call at no expense to you from
Stephan Stearns.
an inmate at
Osceola County Corrections Department.
to accept this call, press or say 5. To refuse this call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IC Solutions. You may begin speaking now.
Stephan,
Hey,
where the hell you been?
I've been trying to call. They've had us on lockdown so often. Every time I've asked them, we've been on a Code 5 lockdown.
Okay.
Which means I've been unable to call. I've been trying to call all weekend, too.
So you've been on lockdown all this time?
Off and on, yes. On the days that I've asked, we happen to be on lockdown, which means either an incident has happened or they're just so understaffed that they have to lock everyone down. It's probably more to do with
Oh, okay.
understaffing.
By that logic, he would be in lockdown 24/7, which, as far as I know, would be considered illegal. I actually wouldn't be surprised. Now, yes, lockdowns do happen, and obviously, when they're in lockdowns, they don't have the ability to make phone calls. But we've also seen all the reports where basically he was refusing to shower and stuff like that. So it's also quite possible that there were periods of time when his privileges were removed.
Okay. How you been?
Well, you know, had the world's shittiest birthday present, so
Yeah. And then you didn't call, so I'm assuming because of changes that they prevented you from calling.
I love that. He's asked how he's been, and he comes up with the Suki Lala, I've had the world's shittiest birthday, or whatever he said. And Chris didn't miss a beat. He just completely brushed over it and just kept talking about, well, I presume they didn't let you call out. Like, basically, guess what? I don't give a rat's ass what your birthday was like. It's so classic. I hope he has a horrible birthday again this year, which I think we can be pretty confident that he will.
no, they were actually moving me around a lot, shuffling back and forth, so I was having to get my phone privileges jockeyed back and forth, which takes a little while. And then, like I said, the days that I was asking, we happened to be on lockdown on those days. So it's just been inconvenient.
Okay.
Very inconvenient timing. And then we were on lockdown all weekend. I wanted to call on Mom's birthday. I tried to call yesterday. I tried to call Saturday, and it was no go anytime. So. But I've been wanting to call.
I find it incredibly hard to believe that you would just go day after day after day of being in lockdown. Even if they're short staffed, I would imagine that they would go out of their way to make sure that they don't have too many days in a row of lockdown, because otherwise you're going to have inmates starting to become extremely difficult to manage, which is definitely not an ideal situation.
How have you been?
I'm trying to put this on speaker.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put this on speaker. Okay.
How have you been? Can you hear me?
Good. Can you hear us?
Yes. Is Mom there with you?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
What's that?
Stephan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is Mom with you?
Hang on a second.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Stephan, can
I
you
can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. That's on speaker.
Okay. Is Mom there?
Yes, mom's with me now.
Okay. Happy birthday, belated birthday, Mom, and happy belated Mother's Day.
Hi, sweetheart. I was so hoping to hear from you. I'm so glad I'm hearing from you now.
Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't able to call you all weekend. They had us on lockdown, so no one was able to do anything.
Look, I get that he's her son and everything, but it still sickens me to hear that tone in her voice and to hear her call him sweetheart. Like, do you realise that your son is a monster?
Were you expecting these charges?
No.
The murder charge.
Oh, well, we know you're not.
Okay. So you got blindsided by that.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not true. I never would have wanted her gone for any reason, so, premeditated first degree is kind of a dick punch.
I wonder how many times in his life he's said that. Obviously, it's not true. It's probably one of those lines that he's used so many times, And I'd imagine his parents believe it. And honestly, to me it sounds like a confession there. Basically saying, I never would have wanted her gone for any reason. So premeditated first degree was kind of a D punch. In other words, he's not denying there that he did it. He's just denying that it wasn't premeditated. He's doing his best to, once again, deny any responsibility, and clearly he thinks his parents are going to believe him.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering if you had any updates or anything.
Nope, we haven't heard a thing. Just, speculation that she's been
Hiding
put in an institution and hiding in an institution.
at her lawyer's request.
Yeah.
I mean, are you cooperating with police about her participation in any of this stuff?
There's been no opportunity for me to cooperate with anything. As I understand, the police keep saying that I'm uncooperative, but they haven't asked me anything to cooperate with, so whatever that means.
Now, can we just acknowledge here that with Stephan incarcerated, the Stearns have no actual connection anymore with Jen. So this story about her being in a mental house at the orders of her lawyers is nothing more than that. It is pure hearsay. And it sounds to me like it's just something that they probably just wish. They don't like Jen. They want to paint her in as bad a picture as they possibly can. Now, the guy is so full of crap. They're saying, have you basically spoken to anyone to dump Jen in it, essentially? And he's saying that he's had no opportunity to talk with the police, and the police are saying he's uncooperative. Okay, but at this point in time, any sort of conversations like that happen via your lawyer. So if you are being uncooperative, then it's all round you being uncooperative. Clearly, he wasn't communicating with his lawyer either. The guy's a complete utter tool. He might as well just admit what he did, and just maybe it might save him from frying.
So your attorney isn't approaching them and saying, my client would like to speak with you?
No, my attorneys are pretty much saying to keep my mouth shut until the trial starts.
Well, okay.
Well, let's be real here. It seems that Ms. Burden is probably just as arrogant as Stephan Stearns, and so clearly she's not even considering a plea deal. She would rather have her day in court, try and look like a big superstar, and have him fry at the end, than actually take into account the fact that this guy is never going to get off, and try and get a deal for him so that he doesn't fry. I'm actually kind of grateful for that, because look, he deserves the biggest punishment possible. But honestly, it makes you question what the actual end goal is for some of these defence attorneys, and if they are actually working for the best interests of their clients, or if at the end of the day they're just trying to prove something.
Okay. I don't know why they were going to wait till the trial, but that's their business, not mine.
They don't want anything to hurt my chances.
Yep, understand. Okay.
Hey, what was Joey's last name?
What?
Beltry?
Yeah, Veltri.
Joey.
Joey Beltry? Beltry?
Beltry.
Beltry or Beltry?
Feltry with a V, like victory.
V.
Okay. All right.
Okay, maybe it's my headphones, or maybe it's because I'm doing this at 5:30 in the morning because my shoulder's been keeping me awake. But did he say Velty as in Velty? Write down below what you think he said, because I think that name is significant, and I'll come back to that later.
So yeah, it's basically, well, obviously this confirms that they're artificially inflating everything up as high as they can possibly do it.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So I don't know
What'll stick.
what the plan is there. If they're just trying to scare me into pleading down, or I don't know.
The guy is in utter denial. He's been enabled his whole life. His parents have basically got him out of every little bit of trouble that he's been in for his entire life. So now he thinks that after doing something this serious, he's actually going to get out of it. And his parents aren't helping the situation there. You know, if they had a modicum of decency, they would turn around and, just for once in their lives, grow a spine and actually tell your son, well, you screwed up big time and now you've got to face the music. But instead, they agree with them. Oh, it's all overinflated. Yeah, 'cause you know, everyone's picking on poor little Stephan.
No, they're not.
Okay.
They're just trying to hurt me as much as possible.
Are you able to share the Saturday night before you left for Kissimmee? You were pretty upset about something. Did it have to do anything with Kissimmee and the events that took place the next couple of days?
No.
Okay.
No, I was just stressed out about money and job and everything like that.
Seriously, why would a loser like Stearns be worried about money and a job? He couldn't care less if he was in a job because his parents pay his way. And as for money, well, I doubt he's worried about money because he was getting money from somewhere to buy all his damn toys.
Some woman got on a YouTube thing and said that you weren't even at the party.
Party?
Yeah, her birthday party.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. I went up there Sunday evening and got there after she was done at her party.
Someone's got to say this, and I'm not a fan of Deb Stearns, so I'm going to say it. Oh, snap.
Oh, okay.
And we were very happy that I was there. We were very happy that the three of us were together. It was shaping up to be a great week and a great visit. You know, there's no reason for anything to happen that happened.
Shaping up to be a great week and a great visit. How can it, in a matter of hours, be shaping up to be a great week and a great visit? That's something that you would say after you've been there for a few days. Oh, we went and did this and we did that and we had all this fun. So it was shaping up to be a great visit. Not you'd been there a couple of hours and then Maddie went to bed. Like, seriously? And there's no reason for anything to happen that happened. That to me sounds like an admission. Something happened, but it was an accident. He didn't mean for it to happen. Which is what many of us have been speculating all along.
Is there some explanation of I came up Wednesday morning, met you at the hotel, early in the morning. And is there some explanation why you left and went where you went?
I was driving around.
Okay, understood you were driving around, but they know where you were driving around.
Yeah.
And we know.
Okay.
He totally nailed him there, didn't he? And it just shows us the sort of relationship that Stephan had with his parents in terms of his way of twisting the truth. He didn't know that his parents knew that he'd been down to Northport, so he was going for the soft version of, I was just driving around. And then when Chris confronts him and was like, well, actually, they know where you went and we know where you went. And then it's okay. You can tell he's sitting there and thinking, oh, okay, now what do I do?
I had wanted to grab a few things and get my ducks in a row, kind of prepare myself for whatever was coming, but I couldn't find what I was looking for.
Honestly, the prosecution will have a field day with these recordings. He wanted to grab a few things. He wanted to prepare himself for what was coming. Get his ducks in a row. That is an admission of guilt. Basically, at the time that he went down to Northport, he wasn't named as a suspect. Yes, they knew that the police were looking at him, but if you were innocent, then you had no reason to make a 6-hour round trip down to Northport, spending an hour and a half down there doing who knows what. So he's basically admitted that he was pretty certain he was about to get arrested and he had things to deal with down in Northport. We know what those things were. He tried to log on to his Google accounts at his parents' address, and then he removed the hard drive from his computer. So yes, he was trying to get his ducks in a row.
Okay.
And then I ended up just kind of driving around aimlessly.
No, Stephan, you didn't go and drive around aimlessly because you didn't have time. By the time you left Northport, all you had time for was to get back to the hotel. So I think what he's trying to do here is give the impression that he went down to Northport and turned around and came straight back and did nothing.
Okay. I mean, you asked me to come up, and we hardly spent 35 minutes the entire time I was there throughout the entire day. And it's like, I wasn't sure why I was there, and then I was caught off guard by what happened later that afternoon, and obviously haven't seen you since.
Yeah, well, I just felt like I needed an ally there.
Well, I wish you had come to me and talked to me about some stuff, and maybe we could have helped you out in some way, giving you some advice. But
Okay, so you all know my thoughts on Chris. I don't trust him. So when he says, if you'd have told us, we could have helped you out some way, and then he pauses and he says, we could have helped you out some way with advice. The fact that he repeated, we could have helped you out some way, makes me think that he wasn't referring to advice when he originally said, we could have helped you out some way. And then it probably dawned on him that, hang on, these phone calls are being recorded. So I need to clarify that so that they don't think that we were saying we could have helped him out, helped him cover up. Personally, I do believe that Chris and Deb did have some sort of knowledge prior to when Stephan was arrested, and that they did enable his trip down to Northport. I've done a video on that, so I won't go into that in depth. But I don't buy this soggy bread at all from Chris.
Certainly, under the extenuating circumstances, what was later discovered obviously couldn't help you any further than what had already taken place. So the most logical thing would be to have, face up to it and have a conversation with the appropriate authorities. Or
We couldn't help you any more than what had already taken place. So basically, it does sound to me that Stephan fed them some kind of story. He didn't tell them what he'd done. He didn't tell them his involvement. But he came up with some sort of story to make them believe that the police were looking at him for some reason, and he needed Mummy and Daddy to protect him in case he got unfairly arrested. Maybe I'm reading too much in it, but that I've covered this in another video, and when you look closely at Chris and Deb's actions and words, there are questions that I have.
get an attorney or something, but be that as it may.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yep.
Well, we got a copy of your birth certificate for Sheila Marino and for your case. We're trying to get hospital records from the TBI, but Sarasota Memorial says you were never a patient there, so that's ridiculous because we know you were.
Yeah.
Okay, so because he wasn't actually admitted to the hospital at the time that he had that accident of getting run over, is that why there's no paperwork? Because, is it different when you go to the emergency room? I would have thought there would still be paperwork. If someone goes to the emergency room, there would still be a record of it. I know this is before everything was digitised, so obviously it's a bit different, but it's my understanding that in America, you guys have to pay for treatment at the emergency room, right? So there must be some sort of record of it. But maybe it's just more of a case of you fill out the forms to make your payment for the treatment. I don't know. But I guess also being emergency room, if it was something that was dismissed and he wasn't put in hospital for it, then they probably only keep the records for 5 years or something because it wasn't a hospital stay. So, can I say sucked in? I know that sounds a bit rude, but hey, guess what, Stephan? There's not going to be any solid record of your TBI.
And were you able to find my Social Security card?
Yes.
Good. I presume it was probably in that mouse toy box with everything?
I don't know.
No, it wasn't.
It's in my,
No, I don't recall where it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't there. But
I don't remember if you had confirmed or not. Were you able to find my watch?
No, we weren't.
Okay, so are Chris and Deb lying to him there about not being able to find his watch? Because in the documents, when they talk about the hard drive, they talk about Chris saying that he found the hard drive in a box with a watch. Now, I know I grew up at the time in a time when everybody wore watches. I think I was about 6 when I got my first watch. I was super excited because it was this fancy little red digital watch that was pretty cool for that time. And I used to kill watches. I don't know why. My watches never lasted a long time. And I did used to keep all my old watches, and they were crappy old cheap watches. So maybe it is another just crappy old cheap watch. But it just seems interesting that they're referring to finding one watch in that box with the hard drive. Because if you were someone who kept stuff like that, when you keep it all together, like all my watches, I kept them all in one tin. Again, I don't know why. Just, ADHD thing, I think. You do sort of collect things. So it is curious that they're saying they've never found his watch, and yet in the documents they claim that there was a watch in the box where they found the hard drive.
Yeah.
So
There was no popcorn box.
Little silver mouse
we already
toy.
had your social security card, so why did you think we need I already knew your number, I don't why did you think we need to find the card?
Just in case I was going to need it in the future.
Okay, well, we have that.
How long I'm going to be here, or if or when I'll ever be released, or if you guys are going to be around at that point. But, birth certificate, social security card might be things I'll need in that case.
The guy is so delusional. Like, I'm sorry, but you did the crime. Do you seriously think there's any chance of you ever setting foot out in the free world ever again? Nuh-uh. Never. Not a chance.
Well, the penalty for the crimes you have been charged with carry a minimum 40-year sentence. So obviously we're going to be gone. Rick will be gone. We'll all be gone. I mean, we're sad about that, obviously, because there won't be anybody here for you when you come out.
Yeah, and I'll be lucky if I have another 40 years left in me either, so.
So it definitely seems that Chris is the realist in the family. Deb and Stephan have this little dream world where they think Stephan can get out of anything. Stephan thinks, oh, no one's going to believe that I'm a bad person if I tell them I'm not a bad person. Deb probably still thinks she can buy him out of it somehow. But Chris is the realist, comes out with, that the minimum for these crimes is 40 years. We're all going to be gone if you get out. Well, okay, I don't know if he's just trying to soften it for Stephan there, because we all know Stephan is never setting foot out of the place again. So it's interesting that Chris has said that. But honestly, he's not going to be ever getting out. And it seems to me that Chris should be actually, if he's the one who's the realist in the family, he should be at some point in time encouraging Stephan to cop a guilty plea so that he can get life. Because otherwise, that lawyer of his is going to just keep pushing him until he ends up in the D chamber, just so she can make a name for herself.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess everything sticks.
I wish there was a way that, you and I can have a conversation, all of us could have a conversation to understand what's taken place, how this came about, how you arrived here, because it would help us better understand the situation, because we're at a loss for understanding how all this came about. I mean, we're just totally baffled.
Okay, first of all, I should probably explain the background noises. It's actually a little bit later in the day now, and I'm babysitting my sister's Chihuahua pup, who's a week older than my Chihuahua pup, and they're just going through the house like a whirlwind. So you will hear crazy noises in the background. I would never get any work done if I had to stop and wait for them to be quiet. Now, it's interesting that Chris is essentially saying, I wish there was some way we could talk in secret. He's acknowledging the fact that everything is recorded, and he wants answers from Stephan, but he doesn't really want Stephan to give answers that are going to be recorded. That's the gist of what I hear there. But at the same time, I mean, does he really think that Stephan's going to be honest with them for the first time in his life and give honest answers? Because he's kidding himself if he thinks that's going to be the case. Stephan is never going to cop up to what he's done.
Well, I didn't start it.
Oh, you didn't start it, but you participated in it, which is just as bad as not starting it, but that's for another day. Again, I don't know if
details or anything, but, I mean, if you'd like to schedule a visit with me or something, maybe we can find some way to talk.
I don't know. I think we're always going to be recorded, so there won't be an opportunity to do that.
I didn't start it. Well, maybe you didn't start it, but you sure as hell are the one responsible for Maddie no longer being around. Can we accept that fact? And, it's once again him trying to deflect blame. To me, it sounds like he's trying to blame Maddie. Or he could actually be referring to the fact that Jen sent them both upstairs together. It could be one or other. Either way, he doesn't want to accept responsibility at all. Maybe we can find some way to talk. Yeah, right, as if you would tell the truth to your parents anyway. I mean, Chris saying, well, we're always going to be recorded. Yeah, you are always going to be recorded, but honestly, Stephan's always going to lie. So, either way, what's the point?
Now, we have to make arrangements for you to sign off on a power of attorney so we can do something with this car.
Yeah.
And I would have to bring a document over. They won't even let me see you. I would just hand it to the classification officer. He would bring it in, you'd sign it, they would notarize it, give it back to me, and I would leave.
Okay. I think I just got the 1 minute warning.
Okay.
So yeah, give them whatever you need, and I'll sign whatever I need to sign. In the meantime, I'll try to call back in the next couple of days and we'll talk some more. If you wouldn't mind putting a little more money in my commissary as well.
Honestly, the guy's so pathetic. On one hand, Chris is talking about selling his Honda so that they can get a bit of funds together, basically to pay for all these books and shit. And then Stearns pretty much brushes it off. He's like, yeah. And then, that's the warning or whatever, I only got a minute to go. Oh, by the way, would you mind putting some more money into my account for me? Not, could you please do this for me? Would it be okay if you could do this? But would you mind? I'm just going to make this order and I'm just going to presume that you're going to do it.
All right, I can't do much stuff because we are really, when I say dead ass broke, I mean dead ass broke, but I'll do what I can.
Okay, I appreciate
that could change, but right now, for the next 30 days, we are definitely in lockdown.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, all right. I'll try to get over there within the week to get the POA taken care of.
Okay, there's a 15-minute cool down before I can call back. I'll see if I can call back again. If not, I'll try to call back in the next couple of days.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay. All right, I love you. Bye.
It is good to hear Chris putting his foot down and saying, we can't give you a whole heap. But, you will hear in a later one of these phone calls where Deb basically admits that they've spent like $400 on books for this moron. So they're putting money in regularly for his lollies and his coffee and everything, and spending a fortune on books. Well, he's not meant to be getting all these wonderful privileges. It's not like he's away at summer camp and needs a bit of extra spending money sent his way. He's incarcerated for a somewhat hideous crime. So, it just does my head in. I can understand they're his parents, they care. But it just seems a little overindulgent to be putting in so much money for books. To be basically jumping every time he says to put money in for him. So, yeah, I am glad that Chris put his foot down and said, well, hang on, no, we're a bit strapped for cash this month. So now we're moving on to May 26th, and this is the first of the new phone calls. I haven't really listened to this. I've listened to a little bit here and there, but I'm pretty much going into this blind like the rest of you, or probably a lot of you have already listened to them. But yeah, I certainly haven't really listened to any of these phone calls properly. So let's jump in.
Hello, you have a call at no expense to
Hello.
you from...
Stephan Stern.
This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IC Solutions. You may begin speaking.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, is this a good time?
Yes. I the phone was in the dining room. I was in the office. Didn't realize it was ringing, and the second time it rang, I didn't even hear it ringing.
Oh, okay. How's everything going?
Well, good. Everything's fine with us. How about you?
Well, hanging in there so far. Any news or updates on your end?
No.
No? Okay.
How about yours?
Well, I got a chance to look at the autopsy reports.
And?
You can't say.
Oh,
I can't go into too much detail, but raises a lot of questions.
Okay, I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. His lawyer is a piece of shit. There's absolutely no reason for him to actually be able to see the autopsy report. I can't see how that helps getting information from him in terms of his defence. And I'm just wild. This Lizzie Borden chick is a pile of crap. I'm speechless. If you can think of a good reason why he should have been allowed to see the autopsy, please let me know below. But honestly, I just can't see how it can be justified. And him saying it raises questions. BS. At least we know that they have his DNA on Maddie, on her breasts. I don't know where else it was recovered from, because I did watch part of Paula's video on this. It's something that I have to watch in short spurts because it's not something that I'm overly comfortable with watching. But they have his DNA on Maddie. So, that's pretty solid. And as for raising questions, yeah. Why did you strangle her, Stephan? God, I can just see this whole video is going to be demonetised. But I just, hearing that, it just makes me so irate. There are some things that the accused should not be given access to. And I hope that in allowing him to read the autopsy report, they have not allowed him to see any autopsy photos, because that would be even more despicable.
Okay. Well, you don't need to say any more.
Yeah.
Did you get the books?
No, not yet. Did you get notification of delivery?
yes.
Okay, well, I haven't received them
Okay,
yet.
so Okay, so they arrived in one location. They have to be transported over from that location, which is outside of St. Pete, and then over to Kissimmee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
It goes
it
to
is.
Seminole, which is, it goes to Seminole, and then from there it's sent over to you. So, as I said, Seminole is over by St. Pete.
Yeah, and who knows how often, they pick it up, so.
Yeah.
And then they have to sort it and check it out and then deliver it to people, so I guess we'll give it another week or so.
Geez, I hope they were making him wait longer for his books. The guy makes my blood boil.
If you get a chance, Stephan, I found a chess set that is a mat, just a roll-up mat, but the pieces are made out of silicone.
I still don't think that'd be allowed.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Well, you can't melt the silicone and do anything, but okay.
No.
You can swallow it and choke on it or whatever,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, or jam it in somebody's eye, You gotta think about these things. So last time we talked, you had not found my watch, correct?
Right.
When you went into that box, however, did you see a big plastic purple dragon?
No.
Nope. Big plastic purple dragon?
No.
You were probably in the wrong box then.
Why is this guy so obsessed over his watch all of a sudden? If it was packed away in a box somewhere, it clearly wasn't overly important to him. And how typical is it of him to have his watch stored with toys? Oh, if it's in with a big purple dragon. If you don't see the big purple dragon, you've got the wrong box.
Said it was in one of the large boxes at the foot of my bed.
No, didn't see a big plastic purple dragon.
Okay, well, in one of those boxes you will find a big plastic purple dragon, and that is one of the popcorn buckets. And that's not the one I'm talking about. That's just to show you that the popcorn buckets look like other things. But in that same box, you'll see a silvery gray looking sort of box with wheels on the bottom and a brown shoulder strap attached to it. That's the mouse droid. In that should be my watch.
He hid his watch in a remote control toy. Just why? Honestly, if you were reading this as a script and you were given no background, wouldn't you think this was an 8-year-old boy asking his parents to find his watch? Go look in my toy box, and it's the toy box that's got the big purple dragon in it. And if you look for my remote control mouse, it's got solar panels on top, and if you look inside that, I hid my watch in there to make it like a treasure. Like, for real.
The mouse what?
The mouse what?
Droid. M-O-U-S-E, droid.
Okay.
What is a mouse droid?
It's looks like a little, almost like a remote control car from Star Wars. You can Google it and see what it looks like, and then find a thing that looks like that with a brown strap attached to it.
Okay, I just had to look it up to find out what this thing was, and that's what it looks like. Apparently it's from Star Wars. Sorry, I'm clearly not nerd enough to know these things. So it's another one of his Star Wars toys. And apparently he used it to hide his watch. Oh, honestly, seriously.
In that should be my watch, though.
I think we've been through about everything.
All right, purple dragon. All right, well, make a note of that.
The purple dragon is in the mouse droid, but the mouse droid is in the same box as the purple dragon.
Okay.
You got that?
Well, maybe
Yes.
I'll find a Rolex too, because I still haven't found that.
I never had the Rolex.
She had to throw that one in, didn't she? I can appreciate it though. Look, as much as I dislike Deb, if that Rolex belonged to her, I think was it her father or something, then yeah, I'd be pretty pissed about it too. And I wouldn't be ready to just drop the idea, I'd be certainly bringing it up.
Okay.
I really,
Where is that blue and white little ceramic box that you had that you put stuff in?
that would have been in storage somewhere.
Okay, I thought you had it in.
No. No, that would be somewhere in storage. So if you guys cleaned out the storage unit, then you may have come across it already.
Well, listen, we've got a lot of boxes that we're still going through, so,
Okay.
and I,
That's fine.
Well, the boxes are we just stuck in the garage.
I guess on some level, they have actually accepted that he's guilty at this point in time. I know they spoke to Hidden True Crime in September and said that they've accepted he was guilty. But it seems to me that they have also accepted it to some extent at this point in time, because the fact that they've cleared out their storage unit and are going through boxes suggests to me that they are basically wanting to clear out as much of his stuff as possible, and maybe they plan on using his room for storage, but it certainly sounds like they're not expecting him back. Either that, or they are concerned about additional evidence that needs to be found and destroyed, maybe. We know that hard drive was never recovered. Maybe Chris was concerned about finding that. Who knows? But certainly to be making that move to empty the storage unit and sort through everything a few months after he's been incarcerated says to me that they are expecting this to be a permanent change.
So there's no place to put it.
Well, it'll be in one of those boxes.
okay, babe,
Anyway.
we'll be looking for it, that's for sure.
Yep, and look for that wristwatch inside the mouse joint.
Okay,
It's in the same box as the purple dragon. Okay.
okay, definitely will look.
Yeah, you'll see a whole bunch of other
We're
like
having
Disney collectibles.
We're having trouble getting any cooperation with the classification people there to get you to sign the POA so we can get the car sold and start a little slush fund here for you for there.
Really?
But,
Where are
yeah.
the trouble?
Well, they say because of where you're incarcerated that that can't be facilitated with bringing a document back and having it signed. So we told your attorneys about it, and we told them that we would overnight the POA. They could take it in, have you sign it, and I would include a self-addressed returned overnight envelope so they could just drop it off and send it to us. So maybe you can have that conversation with them.
Yeah, because bringing me documents to sign has not been a problem before. When the media asked for my consent for interviews, I had officers literally bring me a form and ask me if I wanted to sign it for consent or not. So I don't think that's really the issue.
Well, it's a shame that he didn't actually give any interviews with media, but then it would have been just all lies anyway, so what's the point? I can't help wondering if maybe there's some sort of miscommunication going in terms of the paperwork for his car. And my question is, do assets like that then basically, are they normally seized to pay like victim costs? Because in Australia, if someone is in fact convicted of something like that, their assets can be seized to pay victims of crime. So is it possible that the problem here is that there's a freeze on changing the ownership of the car because it's in Stephan's name? I don't know. Or, yeah, I'm not sure why it has to be such a big deal. But especially, like he's saying, you know, they can bring paperwork in for him to sign in terms of media interviews. So you would expect it to be just as simple in terms of paperwork for a vehicle unless there was some sort of legal obstacle. And yes, that was the Chihuahuas playing tug of war with the floor mat directly behind me.
So the media's reached out and tried to schedule interviews with you, and you
2 or 3 times,
accepted
yeah.
or yeah.
Did you talk to them?
No, I've declined every time.
Oh, good.
It wouldn't do me any good right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know why media would even want to bother trying to interview this guy, because they wouldn't get any straight answers from him. It would just be a load of BS. I know it's all about getting views and everything, but yeah, you know, who would want to watch? I mean, I'd probably want to watch the interviews just to make fun of the guy. But, you know, even still, you would know before you started watching that they were just a load of BS.
Well, anyway, if you could have that conversation with your attorneys, that would be great.
Yeah, that should be able to be arranged.
We got a new copy of your birth certificate for them.
Okay.
Which I was going to bring over for them so I can overnight that as well. So again, have that conversation that I could overnight the package along with the POA. They could take the POA into you, have you sign it, and then we could, and then I would include a return envelope as well, and they can send it back to us.
Yeah. As far as a birth certificate, I guess you would just have that included with whatever my belongings they took into storage when I was booked.
Say that again?
No, I don't know, this is for something that they're doing. They wanted to get your records from Sarasota Memorial and from Irvine, California for the kidney surgery, and both of those have their own forms that you have to sign them because you're an adult. You're no longer a minor. I can't sign for them. But, so that's going as well.
You have those documents?
Yes, they're in the.
Oh, okay.
What county was I born in? It was Kane County, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we have your birth certificate.
What was the name of the hospital?
I don't know. Is it on the birth certificate?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
I was just wondering if I ever need to find it for any reason.
The guy is on a completely different planet, isn't he? He still seems to think that at some point in time he's going to be able to get out. Dude, you are never going to need your birth certificate again. It's just insane that he still has this idea in his head. What are we up to now? 27th of May. So that's like over 3 months, nearly 4 months that he's been in there. Surely his lawyer has explained the situation to him and made it pretty clear to him that he's not getting out in any hurry. Well, that he's not getting out full stop. But he still thinks that he needs his birth certificate. He wants it in amongst all his stuff that's being held for him. Dude, all that stuff that they took off you when they arrested you, that's going to stay in a box forever now until after you are no longer on this earth. It's not going to be released to anyone, and you're not going to be getting any of it back because you're never going to be setting foot out in the real world ever again.
Well, the Kane County would have it.
Yeah. Okay.
But the hospital doesn't have it. Kane County does.
Okay. So I just contact the court for Kane County, I guess?
Yeah. So it was like $45 to get this copy of this birth certificate. It doesn't say which hospital.
Okay. But Kane County.
But it has, I'm sorry, Copley Memorial Hospital.
Copley?
Yeah.
Was it C or K?
C.
C.
C, okay. Copley Memorial in Kane County, okay. Just if I ever need to get that and I don't have anyone to rely on, it would help.
We're trying to get a hold of your attorneys that handled the things when you and Joey got run over. But it's changed so much, and the partners are split up, and I think one of them is in California that would be the one I wanted to talk to, but I've called and left him a message, and he hasn't returned the call.
Yeah, I don't think I would return the call from Deb Stearns either. So, there we have it. Earlier in, I think, the first interview, they asked him what Joey's last name was, and he said Veltri. And now we just have confirmation Joey is the other kid that was with Stephan when he had the accident. So we now have an identity for the other kid who was involved in the accident with Stephan being run over by a car. It would be really cool if that guy would actually contact someone and tell the real story, because it seems like there's 20 versions of that story, and it would be really fascinating to know what actually occurred.
Okay.
So we're trying to do anything that they asked us to do on our end, we're doing. And so I don't know. We get pushback sometimes when we ask for information, but
Don't worry.
one of them informed me that she was a criminal attorney, not a civil attorney, and getting a POA done was not part of her business.
That was probably Alicia.
Okay, now I get it. I'm willing to bet that Chris and Deb are making demands of Stephan's lawyers, including we want you to take this in and get Stephan to sign it so that we can get his car transferred over to our name. Because I think that's what she's talking about there with the POA. Because that's the only POA I've heard mention of. So one of the lawyers has essentially said, well, that's not our job. In other words, Deb, you need to probably get a civil lawyer, someone separate from this actual case, to deal with all that stuff for you. Because the transfer of the car has nothing to do with his legal case. So, they are well within their rights to tell her that.
Could have been.
Yeah, she's a no-nonsense type.
Well, if she has your best interest in mind, it'd be his best interest to get it done so that we can keep you funded.
Yeah, well, well, one thing at a time, I guess. If you guys can find my watch, that will be another step in the right direction.
Honestly, it's in whose best interests for them to be able to sell the car to keep him funded? It's only in their best interests. Why would the lawyer give a rat's ass about how much coffee Stephan has to drink while he's in there, or how many lollies he has, or how many books he has? That's not the lawyer's concern. They're there to do a job. They're not interested in making sure that Stephan is given the royal treatment while he's in there. And can you imagine the sort of criticism that would be on them if they were doing things that were essentially allowing him special treatment? This woman has got no idea. And I noticed that once again he went back to talking about his watch.
It's in there.
There's okay. I just hope that it's somehow that you can really identify it, because
Identify what?
Where is that? What the box of
Okay, we've been over that. We'll just keep looking.
Up the dragon, mouse droid. Top of the mouse droid.
Okay.
Wristwatch is inside.
Okay.
Okay. What else is new with you guys?
Just going to church, doing open houses. We're studying the Book of Romans. I would love for you to read that.
So that's interesting because one of the main themes in the Book of Romans is salvation, isn't it? In which case, this gives us a bit of a hint that she does actually believe he is guilty on some level. So while to his face and publicly she talks about wanting to blame Jen and all that sort of stuff, now she's saying she wants to encourage him to study the Book of Romans. Now, perhaps people who do Bible study might be able to clarify that and let me know what other sort of themes run throughout the Book of Romans, but it's definitely interesting for her to say this.
And Lacey's going to have puppies.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss that. I'd love to see all those little happy little wagging tails and bright eyes and smell all that puppy breath.
Oh, yes.
It's just this amazing juxtaposition, isn't it? On one hand, he's done the worst deed imaginable. And yet here, he's saying that he wishes that he could be there to enjoy the puppies.
You know when your court date's going to be yet?
No clue. Might not be for another couple months. It depends if they even need my testimony at all. Which, I mean, you would hope they would, but, I mean, at some point I assume I am going to see the inside of the courtroom.
Can we just acknowledge here that at this point in time, he had been refusing to actually go to court? Like, he actually refused to go for whatever the first appearance was. So for him to be claiming, oh, I suppose at some time I'll get to see the inside of a courtroom. Your choice, dude. Well, we know he has seen the inside of a courtroom several times now. But to make it sound like they weren't allowing him, what a crock. Now, him talking about him essentially wanting to give his testimony. Seriously? All you want to do is give more excuses. When you're in court, you're actually not meant to lie. Pretty certain your lawyers aren't going to put you on the stand, Stephan. You did more than enough damage in the various interviews that you did with law enforcement. And I'm pretty certain that your lawyers aren't going to want you to look worse by spouting lies in court. I think I really would be surprised if they did have him testify, unless they were trying to put it all back on Jen. But then they would still be opening him up to a cross from the prosecution. And I don't think they're going to want to do that.
Yeah.
Be a pretty strange trial without it.
Yeah. Well, there's been no news at all. So everything's just kind of status quo from where it was last time. Where have you been for the last week?
Couldn't make a call for a little while. Some of the people that work the night shift, as I said, are not as nice to me. So I've been waiting for people who are. And then...
I'm sorry, but I had to laugh when I heard that. Some of the people that work the night shift are not as nice to me. So I had to wait for people that are. Dude, they're doing their job. if you've been denied phone rights, it's because you've done something wrong. The guy is so delusional. I wonder if he's ever tried to tell the truth his entire life. Because, let's be clear, officers aren't going to risk losing their jobs by denying an inmate their rights. Yes, they can take away privileges when an inmate has done something wrong, but they can't turn around and say, no, you're not allowed to make phone calls or you're not allowed to have your emails. Because they'd lose their jobs. And who wants to lose their jobs for a loser like this guy? So, it's a joke. Clearly, they're probably just fed up with him already by now. And I can imagine he would be a nightmare of a prisoner to be in charge of.
Well, I got sick as well, so I've been sick for a few days.
Cold?
Presumably, yes. I've had a pretty bad fever and a sore throat and some serious pressure on my left inner ear.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I
Right.
said, this place is filthy and unsanitary, and obviously they don't clean these cells before they bring a new person into it.
Do you honestly think that they contract cleaners to clean the cells? No. That would be something that would be the responsibility of the inmates. They would have to clean their own cells, I would imagine. Like, right now I'm just like, I'm banging my head with my hands because I can't understand how stupid this guy is. He's probably been told to clean his cell and probably refused, which is probably the reason why his phone privileges were removed. But to talk about the place being filthy, you want your own personal cleaner, do you, Stephan? You are now living in a place where you have to do these things for yourself. Mummy isn't going to come into jail and clean your cell for you. The guards in the jail aren't going to come and clean your cell for you. And no, they're not going to have any private contractor come in and clean the cells. So if you're complaining about your cell being filthy, that's on you.
Did they move you again?
Yeah, they moved me again as well, so I moved out of the room with the ants, and now I'm back into the room with the ants again, too.
Oh, well, familiar friends.
Yeah, they just love moving me, especially around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm comfortable and trying to fall asleep. I think they do it just to mess with me, honestly.
Well, kudos to them if that's what they are doing. But honestly, the guards have got enough work to do without wanting to move a cellmate unnecessarily. So I'm willing to bet that in actual fact the reason you are being moved at around 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning is because you are basically in the intake area and they are probably bringing in new arrests that have to be put into an observation cell. You're in isolation, dude. So they are going to have to move you around periodically when they bring in new arrests. Suck it up and stop acting like a princess.
Well, if that's all they do, then be happy.
Yeah, well, it's hard to be happy, though.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it could. People have survived a lot worse than this, but
Yes.
we'll see what happens, I guess.
I wonder if he puts on this act with his lawyers as well. Feel sorry for me. I don't like my cell because there's ants in it. Poor me. I know there are people that are worse off, but I'm so miserable right
But
now.
when it happens,
It's air conditioning in there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So I've got that at least for now. Although one little room they put me in before was tiny and did not have air conditioning, or at least the air was not circulating in there, so it was hot, it was stifling, and it smelled like a little dog kennel.
Okay, I know it's Florida, so there's probably some sort of legislation which means that they have to have air conditioning there. But, oh my gosh, it sounds like a luxury. You have air conditioning in your cell? Unreal. I like that he's referring to the smaller cell as being in a dog kennel. It just creates a brilliant image for me. And I hope that he gets to spend lots of time in his little dog
They moved
kennel.
me out of that.
Did you got enough bedding to keep warm at night?
Well, I have one mat and one little thin, scratchy wool blanket.
No sheets on the mat, I assume?
No pillow, no sheets, nothing.
Well, oh, that's such a shame, Stephan. You better complain to the concierge then. Because, wow, you've got a scratchy blanket. Just be glad they gave you a blanket. When you dumped Maddie's body, did you dump her with a blanket or anything? No, you covered her in leaves and twigs. And you're worrying because you've got a scratchy blanket.
Okay. Well, it's not the Ritz or the Holiday Inn.
1 minute
No.
remaining.
Oh, there's the 1 minute one. God, these 15 minutes go by so fast, just like my break at work. So I'll try to call you back in another 15 minutes, but you know the drill. If you don't hear back from me again, day or two.
Okay.
Okay?
okay, we love you, honey.
Love
All
you
right.
too, Mama Bear, but I will try to call you back in 15 minutes if possible.
We'll be hovering over the phone.
All right. Bye.
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 So this one is 8:09 on the same evening. This will be the last one for this video, and then I'll move on to the June ones in my next video.
Hello, you have a call at no expense to you from
Stephan Stearns.
an inmate at This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IC Solutions. You may begin speaking now.
Hey there.
Hey,
Hey.
Hey, the guard just let me know that she's going to need the phone back in about 5 minutes. I think someone else wants to make a call.
okay.
So this will have to be
Okay.
brief. Probably the last one of the night, but I'll push it till she needs it back.
All right. Well, better than nothing.
So I actually had the notion in my head that each of the phones in whichever unit they were in were like fixed phones. You know, like a one of the old-fashioned public phone types, like a phone booth kind of thing. Not that it was a portable phone. So that's interesting. But totally irrelevant, totally doesn't mean anything, but I guess that does mean that they can use them in their cells. But surely that also makes them less accessible?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So anyway,
Waiting for you to call back was long.
what's that?
And waiting for you to call back seemed like forever.
Turn the light on.
Then it just goes by quickly when you talk.
Yep, same for me. Time creeps by when I'm waiting to call back, and then just slides by real quickly when we're talking there. Just like I said, just like my breaks at work, 15 minutes is never quite as long as you think it is.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that his 15-minute breaks at work were probably more like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. He strikes me as the sort of person that would basically make sure that he had finished his break before he returned, regardless of whether it was 15, 20 or 25 minutes. I hate hearing Deb say that, oh, it seemed like such a long wait for him to ring back. I know he's her son, I get that, but like to me it would just be like, I would think it would be tedious waiting for him to ring me back, because I wouldn't want to talk to the dude. But he's her baby boy, so I guess we have to accept that.
Yeah.
But,
Hey, how's your eyes? Do you need reading glasses?
if I did, I don't know what kind I would need. For now, they serve their purpose, but even my attorneys noticed at some point that I did seem like I had to kind of squint to look at what I was reading.
Okay.
I think it just depends on how tired I am, how strained my eyes are, all that. But yeah.
What do they have provisions there to provide reading glasses, or what?
Yeah,
Or
you
can
can
you
get
have reading glasses?
You can get reading glasses off the commissary, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why don't you check into that and see which ones work for you? And I guess that's the only place you can get them, right?
Yeah, probably. But that would be a matter of trial and error because they have like 3 or 4 different magnifications, I think, and I have no idea which I would need.
Well, try 150, 1.50, and then go to 175, and see which works.
Yeah, I guess I could.
I mean, can you try them on?
I think you have to buy them. I don't think you get to try them. There's no way to make the order and pay for it and then like send it back,
I don't know why he even cares about that, given that it's not his money, his parents are putting the money in. So, big whoop if he buys one pair of reading glasses and they're not strong enough. Mummy and Daddy will give him the money to buy the next pair that he wants. And then he's got something that he can trade for God knows whatever it is that he wants to trade it for. So, all this drama is just ridiculous.
Well, what if they don't work? Can you send them back?
He just said he can't.
I don't know how that works. I could ask somebody, but I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll find out. How much are they?
Like $3 or something like that.
$3?
Something like that. I'm not sure.
What are they, like paper 3D glasses?
They're plastic.
Well, yeah, I'm just being facetious.
Yeah, I mean, they could be more. They might be $4 or $5 or $6, something like that. I
all right,
don't remember.
yeah, we'll check it out.
Yeah, it could be even $12. I don't remember. I mean, I saw them, but I don't remember how much the price was.
Well, clearly he doesn't really need them that desperately then. Because if he actually felt that he needed them, wouldn't you be checking out what it was going to cost you to get them? Like, to be so vague about it. Oh, $3 or I don't know, $8 or $9 or maybe $12 or I never really looked because I'm such a loser.
Yeah, okay. All right.
How you doing? How you doing with your stuff that you got from the commissary? You have enough to
Well,
eat?
he's fat and sassy.
Yeah, I've got enough coffee, hard candies, and saltine crackers to last me through the end of the month here.
Well, that's a couple more days.
Yeah, the other snacks kind of went faster than I expected them to, so I think from now on I'm just going to stick to coffee, hard candies, and saltine crackers.
Yeah, well, once you get your books, you'll have something to occupy your time.
Yeah, but hard candies, saltines, and coffee, those have seemed to give me the best bang for my.
It's quite amusing listening to him talking about his hard candies, because obviously that's his substitute for his rugs. You know, he can't vape anymore, he can't take any of his other stuff. So all he can do is have his hard candies. Which, poor substitute for him. Sucks to be you, doesn't it, Stearns?
Okay. All right.
Chips and things like that, the pickles and all that. it just doesn't last the way you want it to.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard to have just one per day, you know?
Yeah.
Especially with the meals like they are, and you know, you never feel full after a meal, so you always feel like in your stomach, especially after dinner, because that's around 6 or 7, and then there's nothing else until like 6 in the morning.
So he's working really hard to try and convince his parents to give him more money, isn't he? Poor me, I'm just so hungry all the time. Come on, get real. And I mean, it's about actually having to learn that you can't snack 24/7 when you're in a controlled environment like that. And just maybe, if you're not snacking all through the night, you might actually sleep for a change. He just has this entitled idea, doesn't he? It's like he should be getting 3 meals a day and snacks and chocolate and lollies, and this should all be provided to him free of charge because he's Stephan Stearns.
Yeah.
So, and you know me, I'm
Yeah. Well, you've had a
then
lifetime you've had a lifetime of snacking all night long.
yeah, well, plus my metabolism doesn't help. Oh.
Yeah. So.
See, what's really killing me though is my back and my hips.
The bed.
Yeah, the quote unquote bed.
His whinging drives me nuts. His quote unquote bed. It's still a bed, so it may not have a super soft downy mattress. You get what you deserve, dude. Get used to it, because this is the rest of your life now. I'm glad that his parents aren't overindulging his whinging. I would prefer if they just didn't ignore it and didn't acknowledge it at all. But at least they're not like, oh, poor you. Because I think that would just do my head in completely if I was hearing them saying that.
You know, your bones can break through and rest on the floor underneath. So, you know, it hurts your hips and then your knees are resting against each other, and it's tough.
Yeah.
When the lights are on, in these pods and suicide watch and medicals, the lights are always on overhead, and so they're real bright. So you try to find a way to block it out, and any way you lay is just terrible.
Yeah.
You get all the debris from the floor that ends up on your mat and your blanket, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Just really keep hoping that something's going to break in my favor with this trial.
First of all, boo-hoo. Honestly, does he really think he deserves any sympathy from anyone? But what could he possibly imagine is going to break in his favour with the trial? He's so delusional. But then again, when we look at the 70-something motions that his lawyer has filed, maybe she's giving him false hope with that. Which, you know, on one hand, that's kind of amusing, but on the other hand, wouldn't it be your job as a lawyer to actually just lay it all out on the table and say, here's the deal, you did this, I'm filing these motions, but they're not going to go through. You're going to have to face the music sooner or later. I think it's just amazing that 4 months in, nearly 4 months in, and there's still this major disconnect going on. It's like he doesn't understand why he's there, and he feels like he's being unfairly punished. That's basically the gist that he's giving. Everything's about poor little Stephan. The conditions are just so awful, and he doesn't deserve to be living like that.
Well, okay.
I have to have hope about something, you know, I have to maintain some sort of hope, otherwise I've got nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've always given my guardian angel one hope.
Well, you've been there.
Seriously, dude, I'm pretty certain that only good people have guardian angels. And guardian angels only are there for the purpose of doing good, not for helping out pedos. I don't know if that's going to get me demonetized, but I couldn't think of another word. People who have images that they shouldn't have, people who do things to 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls, people who are the cause of that 13-year-old girl not being still around. Do you seriously think you have a guardian angel?
You've been there for, what, 3 months now?
Yeah, at the end of this month it'll be 3 months.
March, April, yep, 3 months. So,
Well, like I said, the whole process could take 2 or 3 years before it's concluded, so. And
yeah.
I've already been told that if the prosecution is smart, that they'll drag it out as long as they can.
Why would the prosecution want to drag it out as long as they can? No, you moron. It's the defence that's trying to drag it out as long as they can with their multiple motions. I mean, there's going to be so much court time wasted on all these ridiculous motions that Lizzie Borden has posted. That's what's going to drag it out. That's what's going to make it go on for years. It's got nothing to do with the prosecution. I mean, we just have to look at what documents are currently available. The responses from the prosecution have been extremely efficient. They're not wasting time with motion after motion after motion. And based on their responses to the motions, I think they are going to be well and truly prepared for trial at the assigned date. So delays are not going to be because of the prosecution.
Yeah.
So, who knows what's going to happen. So, just keep hoping we can find something.
Well, you know, as soon as you get some reading material and we know that arrives safely, then we can arrange for other stuff.
Yep. That will be good, having my own little mini library with stuff that I like to read, instead of just what, you know.
So, when they move you from cell to cell, how do you move your stuff around?
I toss it all in my blanket, close my blanket up, fold my blanket up into my mat, and then push it.
So that answers a question that I asked several months back. My question was, do they need to be buying him books, or does he have access to books while he's in there? And he's basically admitted there that he does have access to books. He just doesn't like the books that are available, so he wants his own special selection. Again, he wants the special treatment. He doesn't want to have to settle for what everybody else has to settle for. He wants to be treated special because he thinks he's special. Now, I think probably the docket was going through some documents a few months ago where they actually mentioned that a number of Stephan's books were removed from him because he had so many books. So that's kind of amusing.
Oh, they move you, blanket, and mat.
Yep. Typically they'll move me with the mat, but if they don't, I'll take my blanket and everything and just hope that they clean the mat in the new cell well enough, which last time they did not.
Yeah. Right.
I found a whole wad of spit underneath at one time. At least I hope.
So you get to we should, maybe can complain to management.
No.
Yeah, well, I'll be sure to include it in my Yelp review.
Nice little bit of humour from Chris there. For some reason, it triggers me to hear Stephan trying to make a joke of it. And I think that's probably because he's whinging and bitching so much about his conditions that basically it's ridiculous to hear him then running with Chris's joke, because he doesn't actually consider it amusing, and he probably considers it worthwhile that if he could, he would complain about his conditions.
Yeah.
1 star. Accommodations suck. Food terrible.
Yeah. Well, the idea is not to be there, but but too late for that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Chris is the closest one of them to being direct about it all. The idea is to not be there, but it's too late for that. Well, I think with Stephan you need to be even more direct than that and say, you got yourself into this situation, now you have to live with it. But you never hear them coming the hard line like that. It's always, let's just turn it into a joke, or let's go with the softly approach. Either way, they're still not pushing him to actually accept that he's done the wrong thing.
Stephan, I could never have imagined that we would all be in this situation. I just couldn't. There's no way I could have ever even visualized it. This is awful.
Yeah, me either, to be honest.
Well, I mean, things kind of went sideways, whatever happened with, so you knew that was going to go down a rat hole.
Yeah, well, I never
then,
in a million years that she would not be around anymore, so.
Notice the deflection that's going on there. He's like, I never would have thought in a million years that she wouldn't be around anymore. So he's not saying that he has any responsibility for any of this. He's completely deflecting from the fact that he's the reason she's not around. He's even deflecting from Deb essentially saying that she never imagined them being in a situation as in him being incarcerated. He wants to deflect from that completely and talk about it being, well, it's all about Maddie not being around anymore, nothing to do with him. And it makes me angry that he can even talk about her still. But to actually bring her up as his way of deflecting from what they are saying is really pathetic too. Now, I think it's important to acknowledge here that while he is putting it back onto the whole thing of Maddie being gone, this isn't about him feeling sad that Maddie as a person is no longer around. This is about him being upset because he can no longer participate in those activities that he enjoyed. This still goes back to him. He was addicted to Maddie and not in a good way. And he is now upset, disappointed, because he no longer has that access and he no longer has the ability to partake in those activities.
Yeah. So once that went sideways, whatever happened, that was all she wrote.
Yeah, well, I can handle a lot of things.
What's that?
I said, still has not been heard from except for an interview she did with the newspaper where she told everybody that she did sleep with you guys and she said to sleep with you in the other room.
Oh, okay. Well, As I was going to say, I can handle a lot of things, but one thing I just can't reconcile or figure out in my mind or wrap my head around is the fact that, he doesn't get to live anymore.
You can't reconcile in your head that she doesn't get to live anymore. Well, you're the one who did it, you mongrel. I can't believe this guy. It just makes me so wild. And this is only, 3 of these phone calls in? I hate to think what else has been said in the other phone calls. Look, I can appreciate that people like him do feel something for their victims. But there's that possessiveness there as well. And maybe he did think that he genuinely loved her. But it was all wrong. So how dare he say something like this?
There were a lot of things that I wanted to see for her, She had another year or so before high school. Learning how to drive, figuring out what she wanted to do with her life. I was excited to see where she was going, I was really impressed with the person that she was finally growing into.
I'm not a violent kind of person, but honestly, listening to him talking about what Maddie's legacy could have been makes me utterly livid. Does he not connect in his brain that it's because of him that she'll never get to do these things? She'll never get to go to high school or learn to drive or do any of those other things that he's talking about. How dare he try and make it sound like he's just so sad now because it shouldn't have happened. I bet we don't hear any of this come sentencing time. He's not going to say, I regret that Maddie misses out on these things because of me. No way. Because he's not equating this as being anything to do with his own actions. He's probably blaming the universe. And can we be honest? Does he really care about those things? Or does he care about the fact that he can't do what he used to enjoy doing with Maddie anymore? Because at the end of the day, I'm pretty certain that's what his major concern was.
Well, got a whole lot to talk about, like to own up to.
Well, again, I know you can't talk about this, but it's like, it almost sounds like you didn't know something had happened to her.
Well, I discovered her in the state that she was in after everything was said and done. So, obviously I can't get into detail, but no, I was not aware that she had passed on.
Hmm.
As you know, I'm up and down throughout the night, and I was not in the room the whole time. And it's not like you just suddenly feel someone's ghost pass away from them. It's a discovery. And
So she wasn't even in the same room with you?
well, she was in the room that I started in, but I'm up and down throughout the night, and I tend to wander around the house and fiddle around on my phone and step out front and feel the nice cool night air and all that. So I was gone from the room for. Obviously, I really can't get into too many details, but
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't discover what had happened until just around dawn.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Because I discovered that she was ice cold.
Now, I think Chris was deliberately trying to lead him there to try and get him to come up with a story that would absolve him. You didn't know something had happened to her? In other words, tell us that you're innocent. let's get this on record because we know that this phone call is being recorded. And then all this stuff that he comes out with. I discovered her in the state she was in after everything was said and done. What was said and what was done. That definitely makes it sound like there was some sort of argument or something between Maddie and Stearns. We know that Maddie's counsellor had been basically teaching her to speak out about things she didn't like. This was supposed to be with regards to Jen. She said that she had taught Maddie that when things were calm at home, she could then have a conversation with Jen about, I don't like it when this happens. Did Maddie try this a few times with Jen and then feel that she could do this with Stearns and he lost his shiz? Because we're definitely hearing after everything was said and done. So there's definitely, to me, it sounds like there was some sort of argument between him and Maddie. Said and done. Done implies somebody did something. So he is skirting around the details here, but he is essentially admitting guilt. And when he gets too close to actually giving himself away, when he doesn't want to give answers, he's now falling back on, I can't get into the details. So if he's having trouble coming up with an explanation for part of his story, suddenly he can't get into the details. If he's asked a question that he doesn't like, he can't get into the details. But he's still got a heck of a lot to say. I was not aware that she had passed on. I'm up and down the whole night and was not in the room the whole time. So she was by herself in that room and died of strangulation. The only thing I can take from this is that basically they've had some sort of argument. He's lost his cool and he's strangled her. And then he's gone out of the room. And can I just say how creepy it is thinking of him prowling around that house in the middle of the night? I hope those flatmates had locks on their doors. Because, my gosh, can you imagine him sneaking into your room while you're sleeping? But, I mean, he has also admitted here that he was present when she passed. This fits in with his little poem of I held you in my arms or something as you passed away or something. Here he said you suddenly feel someone's ghost passed away from them. So on one hand, he's trying to claim he knows nothing. He wasn't even in the room. He didn't even know that she was deceased. But he's admitted here that he knew the moment that she died. You suddenly feel someone's ghost pass away from them. That is a major admission right there. He was there. Did he watch the light go out of her eyes? Did he watch her take her last breath? It just makes me so sad and so angry. And then he's still trying to distance himself. She was in the room that I started in. In other words, well, you know, I was in the room with her originally, but she was totally fine. But I wander around the house at night. So it all happened after I left the room. I didn't discover what had happened until around dawn. He didn't say, I didn't discover that she was deceased or anything. I didn't discover what had happened. Implies that something definitely happened which resulted in her death. He's trying to distance himself from it and say that, well, this thing that happened didn't occur on my watch because I was wandering around the house. But he's already admitted that he was there when she passed away. And how chilling is it to hear him say that he discovered she was ice cold? Now, if he's saying that he didn't discover what had happened till around dawn, that means he acted pretty damn quick. But I don't believe that. Like I said, he himself admits that he watched her die. So it sounds to me that he has basically unalived her. He was there when it happened. He watched her die. And then he took off outside for a while. Is this what Jen was talking about when she said she heard him go to the bathroom? Did he actually head out of the townhouse at that point in time? And then not go back till much later? Didn't go back till several hours later when she was stone cold. And that's why he claims that he didn't discover what had happened till around dawn. He knew what he'd done, but he didn't face up to it until around dawn. So was he like not going back into the room at that point in time? Was he pacing the house or pacing around outside, planning what his next move was going to be? But honestly, what he said here makes him sound guilty as all get out.
Well, all I can say, Stephan, is that my heart breaks for you because I know that's something that you never would have done and never would have wanted to have done
Well,
to
I
her.
didn't think it was possible
neither
to
would we.
like Deb Stearns any less than what I already did. But she has just gone right down into the basement there. She feels sorry for Stephan. She's basically, once again, saying, I don't blame you, it wasn't your fault. Must have been someone else. How dare she tell him she feels sorry for him? Listen to what he just told you. Read between the lines. He just told you that he unalived this beautiful 13-year-old girl. This girl that you knew for 7 years. And the first thing out of your mouth is, I feel sorry for you. What sort of scummy ass person is Deb Stearns? To say with this certainty, I know this is something you never would have done. She really was determined to pin it on Jen Soto, wasn't she? How about, just for once, you spent 37 years excusing his behaviours. This is not the time to excuse his behaviours. Well, if it's May, it was probably 38 years, wasn't his birthday in April or something? So she spent 38 years excusing his behaviours. He has just done the ultimate behaviour. This is a woman who claims to be a Christian, a woman who goes to church, and she feels sorry for her son. She's not going to judge him for the fact that he's actually unalived this girl, because she's going to pretend that that didn't happen. must have been somebody else. Let's blame Jen or the cat or the 12-year-old autistic boy in the room next door. But let's not blame Stephan, who was in the room with Maddie. No one else was. And who has essentially admitted that he did it.
I'm angry on your behalf that it happened, and I'm angry that you got dragged
I'm wondering
into it by
if
them.
there will be
So
any
I'm just
people
angry.
left who are willing to stand up for Deb Stearns, who are going to turn around and say that we're all being too hard on her. Because by God, that woman is a piece of work. She's angry on his behalf that this happened. Not only that, she's angry that he got dragged into it by them. Is she blaming Maddie here? Is she victim blaming? She isn't saying by her, just blaming Jen. She's blaming multiple people. Now, if she was talking about detectives, you wouldn't be saying they dragged you into it, because they only came onto the scene after Maddie was already deceased. So that doesn't fit. So if she's saying that she's angry that he got dragged into it by them, then to me that sounds like she is blaming Maddie as well as Jen. This woman who claimed to have cared about Maddie. This woman who gave the long story about how she was such a delightful, happy child, and who appeared to shed tears for Maddie. But none of the things she's just said here show any care for Maddie at all. Her concern is her baby boy. And she's angry that he got dragged into it by them. Not by her, by them. Who else could she possibly be referring to other than Jen and Maddie? I hope this woman is praying really hard when she goes to church on Sunday, because, oh my gosh, it's not just Stephan who needs divine intervention right now to save their soul.
Was there anybody else at the townhome that was not a regular person?
No, which is why I keep saying that I'm not sure that there's any one person, honestly, to blame. But they're certainly trying to blame me. And according to the autopsy report, like I said, raises a lot more questions.
I actually found myself clenching my fists listening to that. Chris was trying to basically add a bit of reason to the conversation. Was there anyone else at the townhouse that wasn't a regular? Based on Stephan saying that he was dragged into it by them. And Stearns is like, no, but that's why I don't think there was any one person to blame. Oh my gosh. Is he really that delusional? You know, if he does get the DP, I wish that they could play all this stuff back to him just before he goes to meet his maker. Just to remind him why he's there. Not any one person to blame. Doesn't want to take blame for what he did. Yes, we can all agree Jen is culpable. She allowed him to do the things he did. Essentially, that's her words. She was afraid of a Woody Allen situation, but she stood back and still let it happen. So yes, she is culpable and she should also be charged. But can we accept the fact that she's not the one who unalived her daughter? He's the one who's the reason that Maddie's not here. He is the one person that is to blame in terms of her death. He's the one that did what he did with his hands to her neck, to her hyoid bone, which resulted in her death. And it makes me so angry to hear him still trying to deflect.
They seem to be settling on trying to say it's homicide. Like I said,
Okay.
it has
All right.
something to do with bones in her throat, but
So now when we
take that
hear
to
all
mean
that,
what you will.
I think what he's saying in terms of the autopsy raises questions is that he wants to question why they're calling it a homicide, because he doesn't want to be accused of that. And he says it's got something to do with the bones in her throat. Yes, the right side of the hyoid bone was broken, which is a dead giveaway, dude, especially given that your DNA was on her body. So don't come at them with take that to mean what you want, because it has one meaning. People's hyoid bones don't just randomly break. A person doesn't go to bed and their hyoid bone breaks. It takes a lot of pressure. It really takes a lot of pressure for a young person, because that bone is still quite, it's not fully formed. At that age, it's actually, the bones aren't fully fused there. So I think it may be that there were 3 separate bones making up that hyoid because they hadn't fused, which gives you some idea of the amount of force that it would have taken, because it would have been less brittle than a fully formed hyoid bone. That's how I take it. You can't take it to mean anything other than that. But he's trying to throw shade on the autopsy. He's probably told his lawyers, you have to question the autopsy. I want you to discredit the autopsy and show that I'm not guilty. Because that's the gist of what he's saying here. He's basically saying that he's got questions because he thinks the autopsy is wrong, because they're trying to say it's a homicide, meaning that he's trying to say it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But you know, I would never have done anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the same person that cried when I asked you to dispatch a little bird that broke its
Well,
neck
doesn't
or
that
something
show
was
what a
flopping around.
cold-hearted person Deb Stearns is? If I saw an injured bird, I couldn't even conceive of the fact of doing that, let alone tell someone else to do it. And it's funny how he talks about homicide and the broken hyoid bone, and she straight away turns around and talks about breaking the neck of a bird. But clearly it sounds like he actually did do that. So in actual fact, she's just proving that he is actually quite capable of ending things. It's not the first time he's done it. Him saying he's not capable of doing that to Maddie. You were capable and you did it, and it's about time that you actually started admitting what you did. Because just then, if you do that, maybe you can avoid the DP. Maybe you can plead guilty and get life instead. But he won't, because he will probably still be going to his death claiming that he's innocent and that it was a fit-up. It was nothing to do with him. He couldn't possibly do the acts that he's accused of.
Yeah, you know, same person that cares about people, cries at movies.
Yes, I know.
And then there was Skippy.
Skippy, yep. Rue.
Jaybird.
Jaybird, yep, I remember them all. Burying them was very hard for me.
Yeah.
And,
All I know, Stephan, is when I look at a picture of you and I look into your eyes, I don't see a monster there. I don't see a bad person there. I see my son who I love.
She said
That
in
never
the
will
Hidden
change.
True Crime interview that if he does face the DP, that she wants to be there when he died because she was there when he came into the world, so she wants to be there when he leaves the world. Well, you know what, Deb Stearns? If you are listening to this, what I've just heard from you right there is going to help him to get out of this world. Because you have spent 38 years telling this guy, it's okay, 39 now, telling this guy, it's okay, I don't believe that you did it. It's not your fault. I know that you're not capable of doing something like that. Well, you know what? While you continue to say that, he's never going to cop up to what he did. What does that mean? There'll never be a plea, and you can bet your ass that when this case goes to trial, that he is going to end up getting the DP. I feel so certain, based on everything we know, this guy is going to be found guilty, and the sentencing is not going to be life. But as a parent, if you really care about your son, instead of turning around and helping him deny what he's done, you should actually be turning around and saying, look, it's time to accept what you did, and if you offer a plea, then you've got a chance of living out your entire life. Yes, you will be incarcerated, but you can make a life for yourself in here. It's better than the end that you will be facing. The woman is delusional.
Well, thank you, and I know that I'm not a bad
You
person
are
or
so
an evil
much
person
more
or a
than all
monster.
those things, Stephan Stearns. You are a bad person. You are an evil person. You are a monster. You are the scum of the earth. And the fact that Deb Stearns would sit back and allow him to basically try and make himself sound virtuous makes her a not so great person also.
No. But you do need to dive into the Bible head first and stay in it, because you need grace and you need God on your side as a warrior on your side.
I keep asking him to help me through this somehow. I know that
And you still don't have a Bible?
I have a Bible. I have a King James version.
Okay. Well, we're looking into getting your large print Bible. So I want to make sure that this delivery gets to you, and then I can order one from the publisher and get it to you, large print, so you won't need glasses.
Well, hopefully it does. We have no idea how often they pick it up or how long it'll take to get here and get sorted
I
and
really
get
don't
delivered, if it does
understand
at
these
all.
people at all. She's saying that she believes he's innocent and that he would never do these sort of things. And then she's like, you need to dive into the Bible and stay in there or something like that. And his notion of that is, I keep asking him to help me through this. Well, you know what? Until you actually admit what you did and ask forgiveness, you're not going to get help getting through this. That's not how it works. You can't just go and do some utterly hideous deed and then say, I'm not going to admit that I did it. I'm actually going to blame other people for it. I'm going through hell right now. Please help me get through it. Because that ain't going to happen. It's like, oh my gosh. Did they raise this kid on Kool-Aid?
But I haven't received any written notification of anything being returned yet, so.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll judge it from there, and so we'll just make sure that we're timing this right. So
Keep praying.
the Bible will occupy the majority of your time.
Yep, I keep praying to God for help, for some kind of miracle. I mean, I know I've probably run up my divine credit as far as miracles go, with my guardian angel and God working in overtime to keep me alive as long as they have.
Remaining.
But I keep hoping for one more big miracle, one big salvation, and
Have you got some way to keep a journal of notes that you would take from reading the Bible?
I can get a pad of paper off the commissary, and I can get more pens and stuff too. I think my commissary is about negative $10 by this point, but I know I can get a pad of white ruled paper off of there.
Okay. So do I need to replenish the commissary yet, or wait?
If you want to, yes. But I'm not going to use it on snacks.
He's
Just
so
on
good at
essentials for now.
manipulating them, and they allow him. So he's like, oh, well, I've probably run out of miracles for now, but I'm praying for a miracle. That's not how miracles work. You are evil. You did an evil thing. You're not getting a miracle for that, I can tell you now. But then he basically uses this whole... Chris introduces the idea of journaling while he's reading his Bible. And what does he do? He jumps on that as a way of getting more money out of them. Well, I suppose I can buy a white notepad from the commissary, but I'm in credit or whatever. I'm $10 behind. In other words, well, yeah, that's a really good idea, and it's going to save my soul if I can do a journal, but I can't afford to because I've got no money left to buy anything with, so I need you to put money in. Of course they're going to say yes, because they're the ones that have just suggested that he do the journaling. And then, of course, he rounds it off with, well, I wouldn't waste it on anything. I'd use it for things that I need. Like, unreal. Utterly, utterly unreal.
All right, how much do I need to put in?
$50.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be dropped down to 40 like immediately.
Okay.
We're about to get
Well,
cut
we're
off.
just about out of time.
Yep, I'll talk to you later. I love you both.
And then he doesn't blink an eyelid when Chris asks him, how much do you need? And he's like, $50. Well, let's see. A notebook is probably only going to cost a couple of bucks. Yeah, sure, you've got $10 to pay off already, but it leaves you $40. That's a lot of coffee and lollies and notebooks. This guy, if he was in general population, he would be rolled for the amount of things he's buying. I may be wrong, but it sounds like a heck of a lot of money for an inmate to have to spend. And yet, he's got no qualms asking them for all this money, even though, 2 weeks earlier they had basically said, we're really skint for this month, but he's already manipulated them to get another $50 out of them. But, they enable it. They don't turn around and say, look, $50, geez, that's a bit steep. Let's take it down. We'll put 30 in. And you need to cut back on what you spend your money on. No, they just accept it. And then, we're buying you a big print Bible. Special one for you. To go with all the other hundreds and hundreds of dollars of books that we have purchased you. I know, I've said, he's their son, and they want to give him something while he's in there, but they are being far too enabling. They are being far too generous, and they need to actually accept and help him to accept that he is guilty. They're not doing him any favours going along with his stories. So that brings us to the end of the May phone calls. It's been a heck of a long video once again. I think from here on in I'll just do 2 phone calls at a time just to have fewer, just so it's not quite so long. Sorry, the sleep deprivation is catching up with me, I think. Wow. If the rest of the phone calls are like this, you're going to hear some choice words from me over the next couple of days, I think. Because I'm just blown away by so many of the things that have been said here. It is utterly unbelievable, the things that these people have said. So on that note, I'm going to leave it there. I think I need more time to process what I've just been listening to. So there'll be another one of these tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, please hit the like button and leave a comment below. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I've been to